More Square, and we are just queuing up her video here. Ms. Brooks, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Okay. If Ms. KiKu Brooks is a leader with More Square, and More Square stands for the Metropolitan Organization for Racial and Economic Equity. And this organization has been working to improve policing in Kansas City. If you could please start your video, yes. Thank you.
Hello. So I honestly appreciate the citizens and everyone who has been on. I appreciate you for putting this together, because it is very much needed and warranted at this time. And it amazes me that the suggestions that people have are some of the things that it doesn't amaze me, it comforts me to know that some of the things that some of the suggestions or things that More Squared is working towards. Like Latika, I want to stay on point here as well. So More Square's response to police involved encounters began for me after Ryan Stokes, after the murder of Ryan Stokes. He was a member of my church, and he was killed by KCPD in July of 2013. And we started getting involved in policing issues at that time. We started pursuing changes in training and retraining of officers, the civil or citizen review process, and some other things that we feel need to be changed or addressed in our police department. We sat down and had conversations with some of the members of the police board of commissioners, police commissioners, and they agreed with us, and they still do, that this change does need to happen. However, they told us that they really don't have the power to do anything. We concluded that local control, with that, we concluded that local control is only the first path to getting a deeper reform reform in the department, and helping to restore power to our city and to the citizens in our city. I don't think a lot of people knew this originally, that that Kansas City is the only city that is still under state control. Their police department is the only city that's, our police department, the only city that's under state control. And so this kind of distances the responsibility of the citizens, the people who pay the salaries of the police officer. This takes away our responsibility to hold them accountable. So without local control, we don't have power as citizens. Even the current board was empowered by the governor, who makes changes. And just in the wake of everything that's happening here in Kansas City, I'm wondering where our governor is. I haven't seen or heard a lot from him, and I'm just wondering where Mike Parsons is. It's very disheartening to hear stories and to see lives being snuffed out by people who we are paying to protect us. And it shouldn't be this way. I think of it with this analogy. I purchased a house and I'm paying for this house, yet I let someone else come in and decorate it. And I let them come in and do what they will with it, trash it, not take care of it, not take care of what is mine. And the power should be in the hands of the citizens. So after Ryan Stokes, we got involved, and once More Square started moving towards this local control, we looked at the current board of commissioners, and in the past 15 years, governors who have appointed these board members, both Democratic and Republican, they have chosen some people that really don't represent the citizens of Kansas City. So the information that we found was the past 17 appointees, there have only been 2 represented in the Northland in the last 15 years. And 3 of the last 17 were African-American men, 3 were Caucasian women, 2 were Jewish, 1 was Latino, and there have not been any women of color or any melanated women. I liked Latika using that on this board, and there have been 10 Caucasian men. And the other thing is that a majority of these appointees lived in the Brookside Plaza area, which is not representative of the 3rd district or of the 5th district. It's not representative of the areas in which crime and policing is more heavily populated with or heavily struck with. So this is showing that majority or more than half of the appointees live in Brookside. That's not reflective of our city by any stretch. And so now we are working with some council persons and Councilwoman Melissa Robinson on coming up with a resolution to kind of push forward with local control for our city. We need to be able to put these suggestions in, to put these requests in, to keep our citizens safe. Some of the things that I've brought up in our More Square task force is kind of banning or getting rid of, not kind of, but totally getting rid of the knee holds and the choke holds, because we obviously see that this is damning to the people, to Black people, when we use these tactics, and the transparency of the Kansas City Police Department's misconduct info. Like we should have easy, accessible means to get this information. And then the Citizen Review Board or Civil Review Board, that's something else that we most definitely need. More Squared has been in this work going on 6 years or 7 years actually. And we know the families. We know Ryan Stokes. We've sat down with Ms. Nayreen. We know Terrence Bridges. We have sat down with his family from Chicago when they came in. Ashley Fulkerson, Cameron Lamb, Dante Franklin, and now Donnie Sanders. Our Kansas City Police Department kills an average of 4 to 5 people a year, and they have been doing this for the past 15 years. We know that there are multiple officers who have killed 2 or more people, and they have continued to police without being disciplined. That causes officers to go rogue. We know this because the records and the lawsuits and the family sharing facts and cases with us, and finally, more recently, being reported by the media or being filmed so that these things can be addressed. I know some of you don't know all the names, but you know most of the names and of the individuals that have been gunned down, who have been murdered. I'm saying murdered by the Kansas City Police Department, and most of them were unarmed. Most of them. And you don't hear about it because law enforcement exaggerates, or they reconstruct the narrative about the nature of the call and implies that the shooting was needed or warranted or justified. And that's what bothers me is I don't know a homicide that is justified. There shouldn't be any homicides that are justified, none. And we allow our police officers to kill unarmed people and commit these homicides without the citizens having a say in what they saw, what they feel, and what they think is the best course of action. We have to sit back and wait for someone who is remote to make those decisions. And the last thing that I do want to say is that I know that some people are pushing for police officers or city employees to not live in the Jackson County area or within the city limits. And I think that that is very important that they do live in the city limits, because it allows us to build a public confidence with the police officers. I know a lot of police officers, majority of them are Black, that they have a deep-rooted respect for the people in these neighborhoods in which they're policing, because they know they have to go back there to live. They know they have to see these people at the grocery stores, and they have to encounter them sometimes at church or at schools and things like that. And to allow them to move out of the city is allowing them to further distance themselves and become comfortable with the treatment that they're given, because those are not their neighbors. So the Word of God says that we must love our neighbors, and if you don't live within the city limits, I'm going to assume that you're not my neighbor, and no love is needed here. So I appreciate, again, the other speakers, and I encourage you to be a part of organizations like More Squared and the Urban League, to work collaboratively with who works collaboratively with one another to address social justice and civil justice in our city. Your voices are heard. It sounds like we're on the same accord. So I really encourage you guys to join an organization and help us make a difference and turn things around in our city.